Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for joining us again here today. Today, I have Adam Volk, who is the founder of Volks Coaching, and also is a man that has intrigued me with some of his background and what he does in connection with Jungian theory and his coaching style. So join us today. We'll be diving in a little bit more into that. So thank you for coming on to the show here, Adam.
Thanks for having me, Phil.
Really what drove me is the interest of Jung. And I know when I was talking with you, is like you were mentioning that you're a Jungian-based coach. And so that's really what drove my interest of having you on the podcast.
Awesome. Yeah. Jung's one of these figures. He's kind of in everyone's life in a way. You don't even realize it. Whenever you hear like the term ego or persona or archetype or any of these things, right? They're out there. If you've taken a Myers-Briggs test, for instance, you've been working with Jung for a long time, actually. And I think a lot of these terms that we're using, we kind of throw around. Ego, get rid of your ego, fight your ego. And these are terms that are kind of like misunderstood, I think. These are all parts of ourself that need to be understood, integrated, and worked with. You'll never get rid of your ego. It's not really part of the deal. It's a tool. It's actually really valuable, and it's always been there, and it'll always be with you. So yeah, hopefully I can clear up some of that stuff today as we kind of drive into Jung. It's fascinating, honestly. I thought I'd share a little bit about my shift into Jung, because it's been a long road. It's been a long road to find a modality that fits my view of the world. I thought that might be helpful to help for you to understand why he's even out there for me.
Can you dive a little bit more into that of your story of how he became an inflection point for you?
Yeah. So I'm a traveler, right? I'm a seeker. It's kind of been my whole life. From a young age, I kind of was always questioning the world, really young, going like, why are they doing this? I remember being in grade school and watching kids play games and listen to the teacher, and they're doing their social things. And I participated, right? I was part of it. I'm a human. But there was this little thing inside of me always going like, what am I doing? I don't know if you've had that question pop up for yourself.
I think in certain ways, yeah. As kids do, what are we doing? Why are we here? What is this life? I know I remember some of those questions for myself. Maybe not in such elaborate means, but
I don't know if it's elaborate.
Curiosity. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I had no idea that was even a question that I should or could be asking, right? I just kind of assumed everyone knew what they were doing. The adults are teaching. I have food on the table, right? I have a family. I'm living my life, but still I'm kind of asking these questions like, what's happening around me, really? And as I start growing up and start understanding the world, I started traveling, right? My first kind of big shakeup in my life was when I was 18. I raised some money and I went off to Africa for 3 months, and I taught grade school. I'm an 18-year-old. And I've never really left the country for a long time. I've never been on my own. And I'm in this world living with a family, and I'm a teacher. I don't have any credentials. I'm not a teacher. Not then anyway. And I have adults, 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds coming up to me looking for advice. I have women wanting to marry me because I'm from the US. And I'm looking at some of the most just profound poverty I've ever seen in my life. And I'm noticing something that's different in the way people smile. I'm noticing a brightness, an energy, lust for life that honestly I haven't seen before. And I'm noticing my values. I'm noticing that when I talk about things, I'm noticing that I want to talk about money first. Wait, how much does it cost first? Not what's the experience, what's the value, what's the fun, right? And I just go through this intercultural, what the fuck is going on in the world? My grandfather passed while I was out there, which is weird timing. And I end up back in the States during Christmas. And Christmas is like capitalist heaven, right? Love Christmas, love celebrating it, spirit of Christmas, epic. But coming back from Africa, Ghana specifically, it's a big continent. and watching my cousins just unwrap presents and just keys and thinking about all the kids in the States that are doing all this stuff, right? And also knowing that kids back in Ghana, in the town that I was in, Kumasi, are playing with cans and string and are loving it exactly the same as the kids are who are playing N64, Dreamcast, or whatever was the system at the time. There's no real difference except the value we place on these objects, right? You give an American kid a can, they're going to laugh at you. So this whole thing kind of planted a seed in my head. I'm like, so there's another way to think. There's something else going on in this world. I always described it as taking a snow globe. And my whole life, the snow globe was just chilling on my desk, not moving, just hanging out. And I went over there and it flipped the snow globe over, everything. And then I come back and it's not a snow globe anymore. It's something else completely. Everything changed. And so my 20s are like this. How do I make up for what I have? How do I bring this back somehow? How do I bring this presence back, this joy back into the world? And it was a tough road, man. I did a lot of service work. I did a lot of farm work. I got my hands dirty. I traveled as much as I could. And everywhere I go, I'm noticing these patterns. And I'm noticing how people are content. And I'm seeing where people are discontent. But generally, you know, there's this thing that happens in a capitalist society. And I'm not against capitalism. You know, I'm not trying to say that. But when you base your life around money, and you base your life around work, you lose certain values. You just do. You can find them, but it gets lost in the mix. And so my 20s were just, how do I ground? How do I find truth? And my line back then was, the only truths that I can really, you know, rely on are in the earth and in the sky. And everything else is a construct from humans through time. Everything else is something that's been told to me or I've read. And nature was kind of my thoroughfare through time. And so that's kind of been my grounding, you know? And so kind of coming a little bit closer to present day, I found myself with an illness about 8 years ago, which stripped my body. I was 28. I'm like at the peak. I thought I was Superman, you know? I'm like peak, man. I'm like climbing mountains. I was about to be this traveling tour guide, which, you know, speaking Spanish and just like literally living the dream. I was like, I'm out. This is awesome. I found my way. And then I got sick. And in Jungian world, we would call this the darkest night of the soul. This is when your pattern that you have been working towards gets stripped. Because what I didn't know at that time is that I was seeking for validation outside. I was looking for the answers in different cultures and even in nature, other people, mentors, role models, other men, women, jobs. It didn't matter. I was focused outward. And when I got sick, all that gets stripped away. Shit, my body doesn't function anymore. My mind doesn't function anymore. My whole mission in life now is to travel and connect and learn and grow and share, stripped away. I find myself in Colorado with nothing. No money, no energy. I'm 210 pounds right now. And back then I was 170, just to give you an idea of how kind of decrepit my body was. And so it started this process of, okay, I can't look outward. And in a way I was lucky, right? Because I was forced to look inward. I was forced to find a totally different constitution. And I was forced to find modalities which worked to bring me back. And let me tell you something, clawing yourself back from a sickness sucks.
How long was that duration of?
Man, sometimes I still wonder if I'm in it.
That dark.
That darkness was probably 4 or 5 years. The sickness was like 2, but the mental toll was much longer.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing all that. It's a powerful story. And actually, I do want to dive a little bit more as part of that, because it's an interesting contrast is at such a young age, that realization of and being able to travel and come out to that physical side of the world to see it in the different contrasts that are there between different societies. And I'm guessing you also traveled a lot more than countries and everywhere else, like the tour guides and everything that you wanted to do. So seeing this whole contrast and having what you felt like was a life path set to be hit with this first gateway or threshold that took you down to the abyss. And I'm referencing that hero's journey. But let me ask, within that time, within the dark, especially that long dark, I feel like there was a few things you took from it and brought back, some parts, because it forced you to go internal and to make a shift in life. Because we all hit these places.
Yeah, we do.
A lot of us. No, all of us. We all hit a big shift that stops us dead in our tracks.
Yeah.
So I was curious if you talk a little bit of that process of, and I feel like there is a connecting point to where you are with the Jungian components, but that process of coming out of the dark, of slowly making your way. Because it's not an instant. It's not an instantaneous jump out. Nobody is able to, or should do that, because you're ignoring it or you're just stuck in it, but being oblivious. And there's probably more states to mention than just that, but there's also the process of a long climb out.
Yeah. It's funny, that question makes me kind of remember dark times. Things I don't relate to in the same way, but know that it was part of my journey. Deep depression, just dark. And back then I was experimenting a bit with psychedelics because you're looking for a solution.
Right.
And again, you're looking for the solution outside of yourself. That was still my state. And psychedelics are incredible for helping you take what's inside and sort of give you information. They give you information. And I've had a handful of experiences of information from these times. But it was like a few days before New Year's. I was like all alone. I had just gone through a breakup. And breakups are like one of the best triggers for your self-development that ever existed. We can all relate to that, and they're either a catalyst for like your overall change, or you just fall into a pit. And then I fell into a pit for a little while. And I took some mushrooms, and in it, I found myself at the bottom of a deep hole, like a really deep hole. And I saw my hands. And I realized I had a decision to make. What do I do? Do I stay in this hole, or do I claw my way out of my hole? And I saw my hands on this dirt and rock and darkness, and it just started clawing. And I knew it was going to be the longest journey that I probably would ever take. But I also knew that was the only choice I had. And I climbed. And I never got out of the hole in that vision. I never got out. But I found something, some sort of shift internally of, oh, it's a choice. And I don't think you need psychedelics to understand that. But that was my modality at the time. Yeah. And so it's just a choice. It's just a choice, the life you want to live and the feelings you want to have. And it sounds really simple. You're like, but bro, these are my situations. This happened to me. The world did this to me. This is all real. It is real. Yesterday. And it's all there for a reason. And it's all part of it's all part of your individual journey.
It's also part of the grief journey.
Yeah.
Because it's a loss of what oneself was too.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, well, this is just change. No, the change becomes a new version of you and the old version dies. So we also have to grieve that too.
Grieving is all part of the healing, and you can't speed it up. You just can't. I'm still grieving my relationship that was lost then. Still in my heart to an extent, right? Because there's dreams and hopes and connections and words. Still grieving a lot. So I don't know. What did I learn in that darkness is that it's up to me. And what's hard is you have social media and you have other people living their lives, and you have TV and movies. Movies are crazy, man. You don't realize how movies get into your mind and set up a reality. TV, same thing. These are people acting, but it shows up into your psyche, and we start reproducing what we see. And it's everywhere. We don't realize.
These are the personas, right?
Sure.
I'm curious. I'm trying to bring a little Jung
Sure.
back into
Yeah. Well,
not internal personas, but external things that we see and create. It's my mindset right now.
sure. Let's dive into that.
Yeah.
So I use the word psyche. The psyche is your total experience as a human being, both your conscious and your unconscious. And our conscious is this, right? It's our thinking mind. It's kind of that processor where you're like, here we are. It's what we can see. And it's always thinking outwardly. And then we have our unconscious mind. And this is the part of Jung's work which gets really interesting. And it's really what separates Jung from Freud. They both believed in the unconscious. They were both 100% on board with it, but they looked at it in different ways. Freud looked at the unconscious and he said, it's where all of your repressed desires are. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about it. We're going to bring it to your conscious. And once it's conscious, cool, you're going to be able to figure it out. But it's like the negative side of you. Everything's repressed. And I'll get to that.
Yeah.
The repressed part is the difference. And so Jung is like, oh, okay, yeah. I'm in on the unconscious thing. And I agree with you. There are repressed things in there, but also there's stuff in there that you just couldn't let out. And we call that the shadow, both good and bad. And so you brought up the word persona, right? And the persona is a really interesting part of our mind. And it's kind of the front facing, the character that we play in the world. And it's driven by the ego. The ego is that internal voice. It's that thing inside of you that's going like, do this, don't do that. But what the ego is really doing, what it's trying to do at its core is it's trying to keep you safe, always. It doesn't care about your spiritual desires. It doesn't care about your life purpose. It doesn't care about creativity. It only cares that you're safe. And you might be safe in your bed, not living out your dreams. That's fine with your ego. These things develop when we're young, as kids. And so our ego is driving us to succeed and to keep us safe, whatever that means in whatever environment we're in. It's really important that we have an ego. It's what got us to where we are today. Sometimes I think of the ego as like, you ever see those like cartoons where like there's like a kid and it's got like an imaginary character, and the imaginary character isn't always acting in the kid's interest, but it's like, do this, Billy. And you're like, and it's Billy's like, but I don't really want to. And it's like, yeah, but just do it. You'll like it. I can't think of like a specific cartoon, but I can think of that character. Does that land for you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can't think of the cartoon that I remember that was on, but yeah, I remember that.
So maybe somebody who's listening can be like, I was this guy. Or maybe we're just making it up together and we're creating a shared reality. We know the character, right? And that's kind of the ego, but it's really there for you. It's serving you and it's necessary. Now, the persona is the outward expression of the ego. It's the safest possible outward expression that you can exude as a child. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in your world, there might be times where, as a child, where it's really valuable for you to speak up and be loud. And so silence isn't valued. So silence gets put into your shadow. Or to flip it around, maybe the exact inverse, right? Like in let's say, like take like Chinese schools, for instance, it is not valuable for you to speak up and to share your voice. And so that part of you gets put into your shadow because it's safer, because you're not safe as a child. Nobody's safe as a child. Every single adult is capable of just ending your life at any point. And you need to conform. You need to fit in. You need to be safe. You need food. You need water. You need family. You need community. And all of these things are provided to you somehow. So the persona is this sort of character that's formed depending on your situation. But what happens is the positive and negative attributes, which are not valued by the people around you, the society around you, the community, the nation, even the world, gets put into what's called the shadow. And this is the big distinction between Jung and Freud. They both agree that things are repressed, but Freud says it's all the bad shit, and we just need to bring that out and talk about it. Jung says it's the bad shit and the good shit, and it's the source of your creativity and your full potential. And so he takes the unconscious very seriously. And he takes it a step further. Your unconscious is communicating with you, which is kind of crazy. Because for me, most of my life, I've been kind of taught that what's happening inside my head is nonsense. The only real thing that I've been told that I can kind of listen to, that we kind of all agree on, is the ego. That little voice telling you what to do. We're all like, yeah, I kind of have that voice. That thing saying you're not good enough or you shouldn't do that. Right. We're all like, yeah. But otherwise, it's all just kind of nonsense. You're like, oh, dream interpretation? That's nonsense, dude. Right? Some people are in it. I don't know. Have you ever done it? Have you ever like gotten into it at all?
The dream interpretation or for... It's funny, it's like my dreams, it's hard. I only remember fragments.
Yeah.
Especially when I wake up. And I think that's a good chunk of people, but it's more of, I try to remember the motion that was behind it. There's some power.
Dude.
Right. And it's funny is this past week, especially when I took a little just get away to the mountains kind of thing because I needed a break, was when I had some very vivid dreams. Some more emotion that came through, more of that.
So Freud would say it's quite literal and it's some sort of desire that you have. That's what's coming out. It's like a desire. Oh, so let's say you're having a dream about sleeping with somebody or quitting your job. It's a desire that you have. But Jung looks at it as a communication. And he says this communication is not literal. It doesn't speak the way that we speak to each other. It's not using English. It's not communicating in a direct way. It's communicating through symbolism. So if you're sleeping with somebody or if you're like quitting your job, it's not, I want a new job. It might be, what do I need to change in myself? What am I looking for in life? What is this dream telling me that maybe I really want to shift about myself? It's not telling you to quit your job. Maybe. And the crazy thing about dreams is it's very symbolic and it's very personal. So when you do dream interpretation, there's archetypes and there's patterns and there's things that represent typical kind of aspects of the mind. For instance, a common one is like the house. A lot of people find themselves in a house or a building and they're like wandering through the house.
Close on, close off. No.
Well, yeah, right. Like, and that's part of it too.
Right.
You had that dream?
Walking through the house naked? All the time. No.
Neither have I. I
don't think that's a dream.
So the house is mine.
Yeah.
It's you wandering, typically, it's you wandering through your mind. It's you navigating your psyche. And everything you find in there is some aspect symbolically of what you can find. And because it's individual, it starts to get really nuanced and interesting. And that's why coaching is so cool, because we don't diagnose you. I don't tell you what your dream was. I provide a framework for you to pull that dream out, for you to understand it. I don't know what that means to you. I don't know what your personal experience through time. I don't know what your association with a baseball bat is. So the point of all this is to start to understand what's happening underneath and to take it seriously and to understand that it's the source of our creative power. And this shadow that we talked about, the other side of our external presence, a lot of the work in the Jungian kind of methodology is to bring this shadow out, to integrate it, to recognize it, and then give yourself choice as to whether or not you want to exude that characteristic. So here's a really good example, or a common example. You have a driver's license, I'm assuming. You drive a car.
Yep.
You've been in traffic and been cut off.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Me too. And
it's Colorado.
And it's Colorado and everywhere. You know, it's like, I feel like probably one of the most common is globally is like getting pissed off at the other driver in the other car. And side note, this is one of the most pertinent life examples of how we all work is we're in this little bubble. We're all contained. Whatever you feel inside that bubble, no one else knows. You can get super angry or you could just chill and it's fine. And the other driver never has any idea and you'll never be able to tell them fully what you're experiencing. But you felt that charge, right? When you're like getting really... So this is a general example. It's not, you might say, well, it's not totally me. But to give you an idea of what like shadow work is and what it might mean for you, we typically work with triggers. We typically work with things that drive us crazy. People, incidents, the world. When we notice that trigger, what we're seeing is a projection, something within us that we recognize outside of us, which we have put away into our shadow. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So taking things that occur and without acting towards them or anything like that, we pull that into ourselves to say, now this is now going to be contained within, instead of, I think I might have.
It's the opposite.
Right. Yep.
That's
As I thought through as I ate.
So another way to say it is what's happening outside is a reflection of the inside. And so when a driver cuts you off and you're like, God damn it, that is an aspect of you that you're repressing.
Right.
And you might say, well, bro, I don't want to be a bad driver. That's not what you're repressing. You're repressing the ability to drive like that. That person, you know what they did is they're off. They got through traffic. They did their thing and they were able to do it. They had the choice to cut you off, which is something that your persona never could allow you to do, and to go drive off. And so you're pissed off because what are you doing? Sitting behind the wheel, following the freaking rules.
That's true.
And so shadow work gives you a choice. You can get pissed off at that driver, but we just talked about how that has no value. You're stuck in your car. I've literally almost died on the road because of anger. This guy needs to get payback. And I like tailgate him. I was on Route 70 coming down, and this guy, I'm doing like 70 miles an hour, a little faster. I wasn't holding up traffic. And this guy comes up and he like gets in front of me and then slows down. And I just remember being so pissed. This is a while ago, PS. And I started like tailgating him. He's driving aggressively. And then what he did is he slammed his brakes on and he brake checked me on Route 70, going 70 miles an hour or whatever it was. And next thing I know, I'm going 30 on the left lane on 70, coming down a mountain pass. And we almost crashed. And that was one of those moments where I was like, damn, dude, you need to check yourself. This is not worth it. But at that time, I didn't have choice, right? I didn't have choice in my responses. And so shadow work gives you that choice where you can kind of reflect on why you're feeling something and then how to respond differently. And there's like 1,000,001 examples of when we get triggered and how we respond. If you're not recognizing the projection inside of yourself, what you really want, and you're not having choice or given choice on how to actually respond in the situation, you get frustrated and you pin it up and you get into fights and you do shit that you don't mean to do. So it's wild work and it's really simple. And so like what I'd offer to you is like, when you hop off this call, put a little like observation hat on as you're, wandering your life. And like, if you notice an emotional trigger, if you notice yourself going like, God damn it. Like if you can just take a breath and just like wonder what's inside you that wants to come out, just like a really, really quick, start. What's this saying about me? And it's really hard because you're trained to look outward for your solution. We are trained. I am. This is work. I was telling like just because I understand it doesn't mean that I'm not, like living it every moment. I'm not like some freaking Buddha. I'd love to be sick. If I could just sit under a tree for 7 years and not worry about anything and just meditate, man, I would be so in. Story Buddha. Like
sounds like a nice place to be.
Sometimes I just want to stop and just sit under a tree, but also I want to live life. So that's what I'm doing. So anyway, as you're kind of living life, notice where you're getting pissed off and just ask the question, like, what is this showing about me? Start there.
Could you say that this is also a bit of what we see of society, to say, okay, we see something or do something like following the rules or following this or following the flow of society, but something triggers inside of us that's like, damn it, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go down this route, or I don't want to take on this job, or doing these things. I have to take on these opinions or whatever it may be. Is that where we're seeing a separation between a bit of our own truth of where we want to be versus, I'm actually curious of your thoughts, versus what society wants us to be too. Would that also be a applicable point to say, okay, we're hitting some divergent points of what's true and I want to be true for me and do, versus maybe what society or family or the girlfriend wants me to do or that at this time? Is that what you're talking about as like this divergence too?
All of that is okay if you have choice. If you choose to take that job because it's something you know that'll fit your goals, or if you choose to listen to your girlfriend because it makes sense in that moment to you, that's okay. But if you're doing it because you're compelled, because you don't feel like you get a choice in the matter, you lose autonomy. And that's where we get angry. That's where we do shit that we don't mean to do. You know what I mean?
Yes. And that's exactly what I was trying to get to, was we hit this split and let's say we feel like we don't have a choice, or, you know, either we do this or we lose our job. We do this or we lose some of our community or friends or relationship. So we do against our autonomy, our sense of choice. And then we just eat that in.
Yeah.
And instead of actually letting it out or just expressing it, it gets to a different place. It opens up and explodes out at different points in our life. And while we may not understand at that time, why did we explode at our kid because they just didn't put away their Legos, was probably because of some of these choices that came down. I couldn't leave my job, even though my truth is, God, I hate my boss. I hate this or that.
Yeah.
It's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the thing is, like, you feel trapped in that situation by both your child and the situation that you're in, the job that you're in, your boss, right? All of that. And you don't feel like you don't have the space to see that there are other options. We live in a freaking quantum universe, man. But we live our lives, at least our minds live in a life that isn't trained to see possibility. We're trained to respond to fear. We're trained to respond to like anxiety. And typically when we work to fix these things, we just kind of cover them up. This is a classic man trait, but not men necessarily. It's like the masculine energy. I know plenty of women who cover their emotions up and hide from what they're feeling, because if they're upset, if you can't think, if your conscious mind isn't able to think of new possibilities, well, you don't have many options. And in those cases, and substance is a really great doorway to take, because you're going to feel better. I guarantee it. Maybe the next day you're going to feel a little different. Maybe you're going to feel guilty or hungover or whatever the case is. Maybe there's consequences, but you're going to solve that problem with that substance because you don't feel like you have other options. And I think that's the coolest thing about Jungian work, really, is we're driving towards what's called the creative mind. Jung, if I can just place it in history, is sort of like the modern philosopher connected to Eastern religion, Hinduism. I'm forgetting all the names of these books now. And here you can correct me. The Bhagavad Gita, I just can't say it.
Oh,
Bhagavad.
yeah, I couldn't pronunciate that.
Let me say it a different way, because I'm like, really.
But yeah, that religious
Western version of Eastern medicine, of Eastern philosophy. Eastern philosophy, like Sanskrit, for instance, that language is a language of the mind. They can define the driving force behind your consciousness. We don't have a word for that. And so Jung is a method, a doorway for Western minds to start to understand their mind. We go around the ego. He goes around the defenses that the Western mind has created. And we can get past and understand the persona that we're playing. We can understand the patterns that we're living. We can see the patterns through time that we've played parts in. And then we get down to what's called the true self. It's you, without society telling you what you are. It's you in the most wholesome, energetic, soulful way that you can imagine. And that true self there is filled with creative energy. It's wild. Like, you ever hear about like scientists taking naps and then waking up and having the solution? Isn't it like Glenn who did it?
What was it? Eureka? The guy, he was taking a bath.
And people close their eyes and they wake up. They're like, whoa, I know what to do. Eureka.
Yeah.
That's your unconscious creative energy popping out. And so if you're in that situation where you're like, fuck, I'm stuck with my family, I'm stuck with my job, it's because you're up here and you're out here and you're not looking at the whole picture and you're not tapping into, nor are you trusting, nor do you know how to communicate with that internal creative mind. And that's the beauty of the work. Is we're saying there is so much more to you than what you've been told. And you can experience it sober. No drugs needed. And that's the coolest part for me. I love psychedelics. Really cool place. Really opens our mind. But I don't think they should be taken without proper understanding of your mind.
Yeah.
If you don't understand that your mind is communicating through symbols, you're going to come up with some weird shit when you take that ayahuasca. You're gonna come up with some weird. You're gonna be like, man, I actually need to be a three-headed dragon wandering through the forest.
And it's just like, what could that possibly be?
Totally. So it's all I'm talking about is doorways into your creative mind.
Yeah,
doorways.
That's actually
what's the
fascinating.
Doorway? Yeah, and so for me, Jung has been that doorway for my Western mind to connect to my spiritual side in a way that I, scientifically minded, can experience immediately. And there's so much more too, but man, it gets nuanced and wild and like,
that'll be for a part 2.
Yeah, totally. Because you were hinting at it before when you were talking about society. Yeah. What about society and how it's driving you? Well, there's your shadow, then there's larger shadows. There's the collective shadow. There, it's the political situation today. It's all just a repressed shadow that's just coming out.
Yeah. In a multitude of ways.
Totally.
It's actually, I wanted to hop back to that, the symbolism, the letting of the mind and the unconsciousness speak. A couple things.
Yeah.
One, I know in the last maybe month or so, that's where my quote meditation has shifted to. I just literally try to shut down my consciousness, and it's not quite take a nap. It's just close my eyes and let the faucet open up.
Yeah.
It's almost reverse meditation in a sense. You hear a lot of people say, well, just, focus on one thing or focus on, try to clear your mind. No. I actually do a bit of a reverse where I try to open up the back of my mind to say, I want to hear you. It's basically what I say to myself before I lay down for just 10 minutes. And I'm like, I just want to hear you. And sometimes, I should say maybe 60% of the time, a lot of that tap will open up. And it's almost like a dream state that comes through. I felt like I was asleep, but I wasn't. And these parts of me would, come through. And sometimes an answer would come through. There's also things, and this is also where I wanted to get to the second part, was I wanted to make first that connection of, I know with myself, of doing some of that opening up the tap. But the second part too, of taking away some of the audience here, is I know one step, and I'm hoping you can add more, is before you go to bed, just asking the question of whatever it may be and allowing the symbolism sometimes will come through the dream. So I'm curious for more of allowing yourself to unlock that side, that place of where answers could come from. What other steps would you say?
Yeah. So one of my favorite ways to interact with the world and to start to even play with symbolism, because the mind is a sort of foreign place, even though we live there. We're not trained on it. It's very confusing. It can give very interesting signals that can be kind of hard to decode. But one part of our life that's very familiar is the physical world. And so spiritually, I believe that we're all connected. Everything is one. And so what I'll offer often to my clients when we're navigating a challenge is to look at the symbolism in the real world. So if that guy cuts you off, or the job is pissing you off, or the kid is driving crazy with the Legos, I might say, if this were a dream right now, your life, what would it be trying to teach you? What is it showing you about yourself that you want to show or you need? And so symbolism is everywhere when you start to get creative with the framework of your world. And that's hard if you're just like, no, the physical reality is it, and this is all happening to me. Great. Good luck with that. That's great. But also start looking at your world symbolically. What does it mean? And I know your question was geared towards closing your eyes, right? And how do I interact with my own unconscious? And so one way is just like you said, right? Just closing my eyes and just allowing myself to see. Another way, and this is something that you want to do either with a recording or a coach. You can find a recording on my website, for instance, to try this out, but it's a visualization. And the way that we structure visualizations is to leave space for a symbol to reveal itself. And so you're walking around in a situation, typically we'll connect it to a problem or something that you're having a really difficult time. Your conscious mind's having a difficult time solving. And you're just like, I have navigated this situation as much as I possibly can. I don't know where to go. Great. We're going to go inside now and we're going to look for that creative symbolic solution through a visualization. And I'm not talking about visualizing your life. I'm talking about communicating with your internal and allowing it to come forth exactly the way you're talking about. So that's one of the most effective ways to work with your mind and to communicate, is to literally stop looking at your communication as a one way and start thinking of it as a two-way dialogue. You can talk to it. And when you're in there and you're having that meditation and you see a symbol, you can talk to it. You can ask it questions. You can engage with it. And it only works if you trust it. But I implore you to trust what you see and hold on to it. I was doing one yesterday. I was working with some of my coaches, some peer coaches, and quarterly we'll do a connection group, and this one was on love, and I did a visualization. I was the participant, and it sounds crazy like when you talk about it outside of the moment, but I'll summarize it. The question was, what are you hiding in your shadow in regards to your love life, in regards to your relationships? And through the visualization, the symbol that appeared to me was a black puma. And it was very clear. And it's sitting in a dark room and it's angry. And anything that comes near it, it is just mad. And the first part of symbolism work is to see it. You can take it and in your mind, you can integrate it. You can allow it to become part of you, because a scared puma, right, is two things. One is it's super defensive and it'll attack and it'll kill, whatever, right? But on the other side, it's sleek and beautiful and powerful, right? So what am I putting into the shadow? In this case, I'm presenting, I should say, this fearful, angry puma. But what do I want? What's my choice here? Well, I want to bring out its power and its strength. And so in my mind, I integrated and I watched this puma just jump on my back, merge into my hands. And right now there's a puma on my back.
Wow. I loved how you explained the two different sides, because a lot of people, when you first explained that, would see this thing striking, this dark figure striking, but the other part of it is sleek. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So now in my conscious mind, I get choice. And so when I get triggered, I go, what part of the puma am I letting speak right now? Right? And maybe I need to be defensive. And maybe I want that. But maybe I want to be powerful. And maybe I want to present that to the world. And that's the creative mind. Is before that, I'm not even realizing how I'm presenting in that aspect. I'm defensive. Stay away from me, man. Don't get too close. I didn't even realize. And I do this work. It's never ending. It's not a thing. And every level you go up, every level up, there's another shadow. There's another thing. And that's just part of life. And that's the beauty of it. Because we're humans and we're trying to be the most creative, beautiful, light-bringing souls that could ever exist, right? At the end of the day, I think. how can I share my light with you? How can you share your light with me? So,
Well, I definitely know you shared some light here today. I appreciate it. I really do.
yeah.
What a great conversation and great share.
Thank you, Phil, for the space to talk about it. It's a beautiful work and it's a beautiful life.
Yeah.
Thank you for your questions too.
Yeah. Thank you for being on the show. How can people reach you if they want to work with you?
Best way is at my website, volkscoaching.com, like Volkswagen, right? VOLKS coaching.com.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll make sure we have a link as
Lovely.
well. Now, thanks again, man, for being on the show and for all the incredible shares today. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate yours. Thank you, Phil. Thanks for hosting, man. What a badass.
Thanks, everyone, for listening.